Hello, the internet, and welcome back to my YouTube channel where I watch new movies in theaters and I have a very middling to mixed to unhappy reaction to them. Today, I saw Alien Romulus. Now, I understand something kind of right out of the gate. This movie is kind of divisive in that a lot of people cannot stand it at all, and a lot of people feel like it is one of the best Alien movies. I think it goes without saying that Alien is a really great movie. I love Alien. Aliens is a movie that I've never really liked, but I understand that a lot of people like it, and I think that it does some interesting things. The rest of the series is middling to bad. I know a lot of people like Alien 3, and I've even gone on the record as saying I don't think Alien 3 is that bad, which I kind of stand by. I also don't think it's that great either. Alien movies have sat in the interim between why are we still doing this, but also whatever we're going to do with this franchise is going to be better than whatever they do with the Friday the 13th franchise. I think we should probably just go ahead, do us all a favor here, and just admit there's not a ton of difference between Alien having 9 movies and any other horror the franchise having 9 movies. What was accomplished in those 9 movies? Well, I like Alien a lot. The rest of them I feel like is very give and take, but now we're on the 9th one, so in a manner of true absurdity, we have a lot of people being like, the 9th Alien movie is finally a good one. I don't disagree entirely that the movie has strengths. I also think that the movie has horrific weaknesses. I know that most people probably are here to either A, get their opinion validated if they liked or disliked the movie, and B, to either complain about it or sing its praises. So I think everyone's minds are largely already made up, and there's not a ton left to say about Alien Romulus, even though it just came out. There's not an awful lot left to say, and I'm going to try my best. And also that I will be spoiling the whole fucking movie. I'm Mayleets, like and subscribe, support me on Patreon. I have a new shirt, take a look at this, isn't that cool? Yeah, you can get it on Bandcamp, there's links in the description. Let's talk about Alien Romulus now. I went and saw Alien Romulus in the theater, and then most importantly, I got home from Alien Romulus, and for whatever reason, I immediately turned on Paul W.S. Anderson's masterwork, Alien vs. Predator. Now, Alien vs. Predator is largely agreed upon to be one of the worst Alien movies and perhaps the worst Predator movie. People fucking hate the schlock that was made with these two franchises because a lot of people really appreciate both Alien and Predator as works of cinema, not just as trash. They're not loved as trash, they're loved as pieces of filmmaking. Alien vs. Predator kind of shits all over the idea of filmmaking in and of itself by just kind of doing Wile E. Coyote versus Roadrunner, the movie, fight each other in increasingly silly and ridiculous ways. Clearly, Paul W.S. Anderson thought that both Aliens and Predators were super duper cool. He loved them a lot and wanted to put them in a situation where they exclusively did cool shit and it didn't feel repetitive. I have nothing really good to say about Alien vs. Predator except that it is still funny, hilarious, and ridiculous all these years later. I feel like Alien Romulus is so diametrically opposed to being Alien vs. Predator. It wants nothing more in the world than to not be that. But it also doesn't want to be like Prometheus, which I understand, because why would anything want to be Prometheus? It also really wants to like forge its own path, given that the movie like tries really hard to have an identity. This is its biggest failure because it doesn't really succeed in having its own identity. I think this is like the main sticking point for me, is that the movie like doesn't have an identity. If you were to imagine Alien Romulus as a person, you're imagining a person that really wants to be this other cooler person and is largely like failing to convince you that it is that, even while it's doing cool things. So it can't seemingly accept that it is cool enough. Some of the things in the movie are genuinely so good. It is baffling that the movie thought that it was not cool enough and had to borrow from a cooler person. This, I felt like, was really kind of disappointing because overall the movie straightforwardly tries to go into like some solid territory. It just can't get out of its own way. So I want to talk about two things in specific, two feelings that I felt throughout the movie. Being slapped in the face. Simply put, I know that sounds pretentious, like, oh, this movie, it slapped me in the face, but also I can't think of anything more realistic to like put in these terms to kind of convince you that this is like the way I felt watching the movie. When you're watching Alien Romulus, the first 30 minutes of the movie are like super duper fantastic, and you lean forward in your theater chair and you say, oh my, finally, we might have a good Alien movie on our hands. There is a moment, and like a lot of people are talking about this moment, but I actually think that it's slightly earlier, where it like all falls apart so fast, and so many decisions are made in like this very short burst that go on to like kneecap the rest of the movie, even though the movie is doing things that I want it to do. For instance, so much of the movie is practical. They've got like robotics, and they've got like people in alien costumes, special effects makeup, and all kinds of stuff like that. Stuff you would want to see in both a horror movie and in an alien movie. Something that has been sorely lacking in recent years, it feels like. Down and dirty, they put a guy in a suit and that guy attacks people, and it feels real. And that seems to be its like major devotion. So then why really does there need to be a full CG with like deep faked voice, Ash from the original Alien, in the entire movie? He is a dead actor, and he has been obviously without pay, given that he is dead, been copy and pasted. His soul has been copy and pasted into this movie, seemingly for no reason other than to make people that are like really dumb look at the screen and go, I know what that is. I know who that is. This has significance to me because I know who that is. And given that the movie is produced by Disney, and Disney's been doing this kind of thing with medium ethical concerns for a while, I cannot say that I'm surprised that they would try it. However, like just like every other instance of this in cinema, it really like doesn't work. You see through it, it bothers you. It's just not okay. I think we can all agree that when an actor dies in real life, perhaps the best thing we can do is honor their death by rethinking a role that would belong to them. You rethink it in a way where it does like justice to the role itself, but it doesn't necessarily need that actor. But for whatever reason, we just keep doing this. Like, we just keep taking dead people and putting them on the screen. I mean, you might as well just go dig the dude up and just like, put robotics into his bones and make him move like that. But also, it's terrible. Like, not only is he in the movie as a CGI visage of death, but he is also bad bad looking. Like, he looks wrong. He looks like super duper wrong. From shot to shot, he looks different. And also, like, his mouth moving looks wrong. Like, everything about him looks weird, and it like immediately rings as like uncanny valley. It doesn't look like a person, and you know in your head that it's not a person, and there's no situation in the movie where you feel convinced by it to think that it's a real person. Really, really distracting. It prevents you from really engaging with the movie. If it were necessary to the ideas at the core of the movie, I could see myself suspending my judgment to try and like get to what I believe the movie is more or less trying to accomplish. However, not only is he in the movie throughout the whole movie, but also his like character is like bad. He is unnecessary to the overall story, and the movie probably would have been better if he just was never in it. It ends up creating this like C plot thing where we have to keep cutting back to him, and it feels like a jarring distraction from the baseline like A narrative that we want to be watching. Everything about it seems like it does not need to be there, and I do not understand why it is in the movie. I think that overall this was a terrible decision, but it is only one of many, many terrible decisions. I go into any general movie with my good time hat on. I saw Borderlands a week ago, and I knew that Eli Roth was not the man for the job like 2 years ago. I knew that. I wanted to give it a fair swing and see if anything in the movie really resonated with me strong enough for me to feel like it maybe wasn't as bad as people were saying, and I walked out of that movie feeling like it was as bad as everyone was saying. It was just terrible, right? But I went in with the good time hat on. I went to the movie to have fun. The movie denied me my ability to have fun. So it's important to note that when I saw Alien Romulus, I had a good time hat the size of a 10-gallon cowboy hat on. Felt like the movie just like fell apart completely at a different point. There are so many compounding things that it prevented me from enjoying a movie I was both ready to enjoy and enjoying, which is why I refer to this segment as the like slap in the face. Every time I found myself going, okay, I bet this element of the movie now, as presented, is gonna be awesome. I felt like the movie punished me for thinking that by then just giving me something terrible. Don't understand why it had to be like this. Let me give you an example of this. There is a moment where the artificial person in the movie, who's actually like incredible performer in the movie, says to our main character, okay, we have to walk through this hallway, and the hallway is filled with face huggers, and they could jump at any moment and grab you if your body heat gets above a certain level. So you have to control your inner tension, and also we're going to raise the heat in the room, and in that way we should be invisible. Also, they can track you by like sound or moisture. There's like a bunch of different things like that can instigate it. We want to be quiet, we want to walk through it patiently, and we want to get to the end of the hall. Now, what I'm thinking is this scene is going to be very, very effective so long as it is short, really clears up the this is a threat, but we can get through it kind of narrative that's going on. And this ends up being partially true, but they're about halfway through the scene, right? My dude who's in the party, who's like in love with the main character, he takes a fucking phone call, like, in the hallway and starts getting frantic on the other line. Like, you're expecting the scene to be, like, enough drama as an obstacle, but then they're like, but he has to take this phone call, which is justified by the, like, internal logic of the narrative. He would want to know where this other person on the other end of the phone is because their spaceship just crashed into a different part of the space station. Surely ideally, this would mean he would answer this phone call. Surely he would be distressed by what he heard. But I'm thinking like, maybe if we just move at a brisk pace through this hallway, we get it all nice and done with, and then you just call her back, but for whatever reason, he answers a phone call in the hallway and then like having a two-sided conversation completely unconcerned with the fact that he's in a hallway of face huggers that can kill him and the people he's with. It doesn't make any fucking sense. It doesn't make any fucking sense. And I was very irritated by the like leap in just regular logic. I know that like leaps in logic in horror films are normal, and I accept that given that I watch a lot of horror films and I'm generally fine with it. Just don't understand why he took a fucking phone call. And I'm not thinking about this as this character is dumb thing. I don't want you to think that I'm just like, this character is dumb. More realistic element is that somebody sat down at a computer and wrote this screenplay, and why they would do something like that to ratchet up the tension instead of just keeping it self-contained, I don't know. It seems baffling to me that they would distract this general narrative with so many other things. In the original film Alien, the best stuff in the movie is when the main character, played by Sigourney Weaver, is just walking through hallways alone, undistracted, no B-plot, no other bullshit going on. She's just walking down a hallway, being very afraid of an alien, trying to get to a destination. She has to put aside the fact that there are alarms and lights and steam and all kinds of shit going on around her, and she just needs to get to her destination. The movie does so much without a ton of like distracting narrative shit going on, and this movie never really does that. Never once. It never just takes a backseat and lets the movie be the movie. It feels like it is constantly micromanaging itself into oblivion. So this isn't to say that like I hated the movie. As I said, there's a lot about the movie that I actually really, really liked. This is where we get into point number 2 that I want to bring up about Alien Romulus, which is called forgiveness. As I said, about 30 minutes in, what I perceive to be a massive misstep. We get a CGI performer, and it looks bad, and it's really dumb and doesn't need to be in the movie. It's distracting. It takes everyone in the world out of the movie, and no one is convinced by this. Feels like a massive misstep. And in any other scenario, any other movie, you'd see this and you'd be like, wow, I hate it. Like, wow, I think this movie is not good. But because the first 30 minutes are so strong, this happens. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's just one little thing. Maybe it'll only last 5 minutes and we can just move on. And what I should try to do in this moment is forgive the movie. That is a weird sensation, but it's one that I've been feeling an awful lot in the last few years. Okay, I like the general gist of this. I like where it's going. So what I should probably do is just forgive it for this particular misstep and try to see it through, try to hear the movie out, and maybe it's getting somewhere with all of this. And then feeling like a total fucking asshole when it turns out that they just blunder that it's in the whole movie and many other things throughout the movie. Let's get to the end of the movie. We're skipping around. There's way more to cover, but I just feel like there are certain things that are ultimately kind of damning. We get our main character walking around in her underwear. There's a monster, so she slips on a spacesuit in what I would describe as nearly the identical angle as in the original movie, and then blows it out the airlock in a way that is is similar to the original movie. This is what I mean by the movie wanted to be independently cool, but it felt like it was not cool enough to be itself. It had to also borrow from other shit. There's a scene where like the main character is handed a gun, just like the Colonial Marines, which is literally dialogue. And I tell you what, Gearbox is having a crazy week. It is exactly a moment from Aliens. There's the scene where there's like a bunch of aliens in the hallway and they like put a little spin on it by doing it in zero gravity, but ultimately it's just women shooting aliens in the middle of a hallway. My point is that there are like constant references. In the opening bit of the movie, they have the little bird thing that dips in the water, and it's like that was like a thing they had on the ship, the Nostromo in Alien, but they didn't need to put it in anything else. It didn't need to be in the 9th installment of the Alien movie. We don't need to care about that. It's just junk. It's just shit from other movies. You can't tell me that it's doing something new and different when it's not. Like, it's ultimately not. And while it does a couple of things new and different, the amount that it doesn't do something new and different means that it's more than not a new thing. So when I was watching it, I was just like, damn, I like Alien too. I also love the movie Alien, but I've already seen it. I've already seen Alien. I've seen it like 100 times. Why would you just make Alien again, but worse? I don't really understand. You know, a lot of the movies in the series, I gather, are like medium guilty of just being similar to Alien. I mean, even Aliens has a thing where they blow a bigger alien out an airlock at the end when Sigourney Weaver puts on a suit of some variety, right? There's the just when you think it's safe, it turns out it's not. Like, there's a lot of stuff like that, and I get that. There are hallmarks to any series. I have a real problem with the movie just being like exactly that. There's so much new voice stuff in this movie that I don't understand why it had to rely on old voice so heavily, even down to CGIing a character from Alien into the movie to both provide exposition and also to be basically the like HAL 9000 villain for the rest of the movie, saying things that he said before in Alien, and then having the new characters be like, fuck you, bitch, you know, in response to that, as if that makes something new and fresh. I feel like all of these things just take me out of the movie so constantly that it felt like every time the movie was giving me generally what I would like to see, it then just came over and slapped me. It's just the same thing again. You shouldn't have anticipated that we'd do something new. You just shouldn't have. I think this is like very disappointing, and especially in a movie that I thought was overall pretty cool. I don't understand why it relied on nostalgia so much, prevented it from doing anything that it really wanted to do on an original basis. And what I think we all really wanted was to see an Alien movie and feel like somebody can do something with this franchise. You know, it's The Force Awakens, ultimately. We're back in the Alien franchise with an updated spirit, but generally the like bones and the meat of the thing are identical to last time, and I'm disappointed. I didn't like it very much. Like, I wanted to see Alien Romulus without all that nostalgia shit in it, and without these like weird blunders of just like decisions that just didn't need to be in the movie, to just focus on the movie you're making. I would have loved that. I would have been super here for it. But unfortunately, that's just not the movie we got. Anyway, that's my take on Alien Romulus. People have been asking me about it, so I figured I'd just like sit down and explain it to you, even though I don't feel like this is all that surprising. I feel like anybody who saw the movie saw basically any of these things, and it came down to a decision between whether or not you thought it was fine. Seeing something that pulls you out of a movie and then saying, okay, I'm going to forgive the movie. There's probably plenty of people out there that had no problem forgiving the movie for these things and then tried to see past that. And then there's people like me who tried to forgive the movie and felt like every time they did, it just like got worse and punished me even for forgiving it. It really just comes down to whether or not you can get over these hurdles to like the movie. And perhaps I am weak of spirit. While I did understand that the movie was largely about certain things, all of those things felt so distracted by trying to make me like it, by using things that I've seen before. And that doesn't make me like something. I generally just like shut off at some point because of shit like that. So anyway, that concludes my views on Alien Romulus. Please consider liking and subscribing. I've been Mayleets. This has been Nick Spheres. Please consider supporting me on Patreon and pick up one of my sick shirts. They're over here. Look at this sick shirt. Very exciting. You can pre-order on my Bandcamp, which the links are below. Also, I have new prints of my books coming soon. They're actually like done. They should be out like this week. So order one of those at the Hero Scream website, which you can find down below in the description as well. And I'll see you next time. Goodbye.